Today we're going to be looking at how technology has changed America since the 1920s, and we will begin to see patterns as to how technology will continue to develop and how it will impact us over time. The question that I want you to be thinking of and that we will discuss more in class tomorrow is if the rapid development of technology is helping us or hurting us. So let's go ahead and look at a few examples. So mass media is a collection of many technologies that reach a large audience. That would be you and I. Uh, these technologies change the world in many ways because it has the ability to connect us together. So as you look here, we know that technology has changed a lot over time. If you see that computer, the TV, the phone, all of that's probably in your pocket right now in an iPhone. And so you can see here that technology has changed a lot, and the more that it changes, the more simple it gets. But does it make our lives more simple? I don't know. Let's see. So right here, you're going to do a think, feel, write. We will make sure that you bring this to class tomorrow. We will be discussing what you learned from this video. We're going to watch a video about a man named Grandpa Don. He's going to talk about how inventions and mass media changed his life and basically the way he saw it change America. So I want you to record these questions here, and then as you're watching the video, put yourself in his shoes and think about what he's saying. Try and feel what he would feel. Put yourself in his shoes, and then just write whatever you learn.
I'm Don Maulding, Nathan Maulding's grandfather. I'm 87 years old. I was born in 1927. I lived Clearwater, Nebraska. We were south of Clearwater on a farm, probably about 12 miles. And when we moved in closer to town, we had no power. We didn't have electricity, so you had to power a radio. And to power that radio, we had to use like a battery in your car. You wouldn't get many nights of that without having to recharge the battery, and that was expensive. And this was in the 30s, and money was not very plentiful. So the radio was really quite a luxury, and you didn't turn it on unless you had a real certain program you wanted to listen to, which they would be serials that would continue on. You listen to them every night. If you missed a night, you really had a problem. You had to figure out what happened. And then they did a lot of advertising in between. You'd get the chance to order things from Wheaties box tops. You'd send in the box tops. I got a ring. I know one time Jack Armstrong was wearing a ring that glowed in the dark. And you could send in 2 box tops and a dime and probably get that ring. And I had one. Oh, man, that was quite a thing. Lay there in bed at night showing how my fingers would go. Then when we got closer to town, we bought a new radio and we could get the battery charged. But you needed an antenna. The more wire you had coming in, the better. And my dad strung wire from the windmill that we had to a tree to the barn, to more trees. And he probably had a half a mile of wire or more strung around the yard up into that stuff. But that's the way we had an antenna, the only thing that we had. Now, I worked on a ranch south of O'Neill. I had one record, Gene Autry singing one song. I can't recall the name of it, but anyway, I would listen to that every night, crank up that's all I had for entertainment in the bunkhouse, was that one record on that recording. Now it's just all amplifiers. Before you'd have a trumpet, you'd have a clarinet and a saxophone and a piano, and a drummer play a little. It just didn't try to blow your eardrums off. They tried to make good music. I kind of enjoyed that, but different than today's music. But I think I remember my grandparents kind of wondering about my music. And I didn't think that what they listened to was all that great either. So it's an age thing. I've seen a lot of it come and go, that's for sure. when I was in the service, I was stationed at Seattle, and I would dial the operator, and then she would route it, and they would call Portland. Portland would call Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City would call Denver. Denver would call Omaha. Omaha would call O'Neill, Nebraska. And then O'Neill would call the Clearwater operator, and then they would get to my folks on the phone line. So it was quite a procedure, and it'd make me more homesick just hearing all those towns and thinking if I could just go instead of my boys. You know? No, I didn't know that a phone wasn't just a box on a wall for a long, long time, until probably after I was out of the service. I didn't get a television till I think 53 or 54. And I know when we got our first television, it was black and white. We didn't have any color, and it was all snow. You'd turn it on, of course, you didn't know what channels to go on. You just had to learn that all by yourself, sitting there in front of it. And I'd turn that crank, and oh, look at that. Look at that. We can see a form, you know. And we'd be thrilled about that. But I ran a theater for about year and a half, I think. The business was pretty good. The concessions was the best business. But the tickets took care of all the other expenses. But when TV came in, everybody got a new TV for Christmas, and my business just went like that. Nobody came to the show. But yeah, we've enjoyed TV. I think we had better television at first. I know they were a lot cleaner shows. You didn't have to worry about the kids. Now you could get anything on there and see anything if you turn to the right channels. And I don't like that. I think that's bad. The type of entertainment that we seem to enjoy, I think it's downgraded our culture. It's downgraded our moral standards, and I don't like to see that. I feel maybe that our news media and things that way dwell too much on the bad things that happen. I think maybe our emphasis, a lot of it, should be, instead of somebody shoots somebody, boy, that's headlines, and everybody wants to know, why not pick out somebody that's just got a very high score in college and make that the big story? We need to get ourselves back up to maybe money isn't everything. There's a lot of other things that are important in life. So that's my opinion.
Make sure you remember to go to our class page and pull out the quiz. There will be a few questions about Don's video. Because as you could see, as mass media became more prevalent through different technologies that he talked about and different inventions, it led to people chasing after more entertainment and more money. And so that is just one trend that you see, and Don talked about, is that as there's more inventions and as there's more technology, we want to buy all the stuff, and wanting to buy all the stuff is called consumerism. So as you can see here, when especially in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, the 1960s, the GDP went up, and GDP is just a fancy word for how much we buy and how much our economy is moving. And this may seem like a really good thing, and it is in a lot of ways, but the graph in the bottom right corner also shows how even though Americans started to spend a lot, they stopped saving as much and went into debt. So consumerism, like you see there in the definition, it's a theory that an increasing consumption of goods is economically desirable. That is true if we don't spend more than we make. But with all these goods and all these services and all these fun toys that people want to use, they spent more than they were making, and as you can see, it even led to financial crisis in our day. But don't think that consumerism is a bad thing. It can just be a very bad thing for us if we're not careful. And again, as you can see in this graph, we started to become very careless with how much we spent as a nation. And our own national debt continues to go up all the time. That's a different story. But let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So we're just going to use automobiles as an example of how technology and inventions can lead to mass consumption, which means lots of people buying things. And here we have the automobiles. The automobile here is the Model Ford, and that's one of the first cars in America. I know $900 sounds nice, but they lived in different days. So with inventions, mass media played a huge role in advertising for these inventions to get lots of people to buy. So as you can see here, this is the type of advertisement that you would have in the 1920s, 1930s. But as we got to the 1940s and 1950s, when television became more popular, like you saw with Don, he didn't own a TV till he was 53, things changed. So I want to show you a video of just a few advertisements to show you how advertising changed from a cute little print like this to real commercials.
Inside, you'll find this lady's beauty vanity. This luxury is standard equipment on all the Larks. Push-button command of all driving ranges. Crank-operated venting. And every 58 Ford has new Magic Circle steering. The world's only hideaway hardtop. The roof slides
Look
open,
at that,
the step
guys.
drops down, and you have 3 cars in one.
All of this sort of makes you wonder what those masterminds are going to think of next, doesn't it?
The 1958 Chevrolet. So fresh, so original. Almost too new to be true. Yes, fun to see. Fun to drive. So unmistakably modern in every lovely life. Even in Venice, where they've seen everything. Chevrolet's jet smooth look of luxury attracts attention.
So there you could see the advertisements in the 50s and 60s were a huge step up from the ones in the 1920s, 1930s, like you see here. And this is what led to people buying more, and perhaps more than they could afford to spend. And so again, is consumerism a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it depends how much money you have. Overall, it hasn't been a great thing. Oh, sorry, that was my low battery. But it hasn't been a great thing for America because we're in a big hole. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't spend. Spending is also very important. We can do an econ class lecture sometime. So the big question that I want you guys to think about is technology and mass media changing your life? You'll see that mass media will use a lot of advertisements and a lot of things to get you to buy things. Even in TV shows you watch, you will often see them have the coolest and newest gadgets. And I know for me, when I'm watching that, it makes me want to buy more. They drive nice cars often on any TV show you'll watch. That's pretty new. James Bond especially makes me want to buy a sweet car. So you have to just take a look and see, is mass media, how's it affecting the way you spend money, the way that you want to live in the future? Does it make you want to have a good job? Do you not care? It's just an important thing to reflect on, because as you can see, it can be a great thing to help our country prosper, or it could be a bad thing because it will cause us to spend more than we make and be in debt. So that's it for today. If you have questions, I will answer them in class tomorrow. Remember to do the quiz in the journal. Have a good day.